Hey guys, welcome back. Welcome to Duality 7Xers. It's fight night. It's fight night. I'm so excited, man. We've got UFC, we've got boxing. So I'm going to try to cover this. I might have to split this up into like two different videos so I could keep the UFC stuff to itself, the boxing stuff separately. But let's start with UFC here, guys. I want to talk about what's going down in Qatar. We've got Arman Tsarukyan. He's going to be taking on Dan Hooker, and that all goes down, guys, as I mentioned, in Qatar. And I'm breaking it all down, guys, with some fight predictions. I'm not going to cover all the matches. It's an amazing card, guys, but I want to talk about what this means for the future of the lightweight division. I want to kind of focus a little bit more on that. I want to talk about Belal Muhammad versus Ian Machado Garry. And of course, Menifield versus Oezdemir, and of course, Almakhan versus the Topuria matchup. And when I talk about Topuria, I'm talking about Ilya's younger brother, Alexandre. So if you love MMA, if you love UFC, breaking news, fight talk, you're definitely in the right place, guys. Please make sure to smash the like and subscribe. Join us here on Duality 7X. Let's get to it, guys. Let's get it on, guys. All right. So UFC Qatar, the card is wild. All right. So as I mentioned, we got Arman Tsarukyan. He's back. He's going to be taking on Dan Hooker. And if you guys saw, I don't know if you guys had a chance to see the weigh-ins, and then as the two fighters kind of were face to face, Arman kind of lunges into him with the headbutt. So that kind of sets the tone right off the bat, guys. And then you have guys like Khamzat Chimaev basically warning Tupuria's camp that if there's any kind of shenanigans, if his team tries to pull any fast ones, that he's going to single-handedly beat up his entire training camp. So yeah, there's a lot of drama associated with this. There's no love lost between these guys. We also and you know Dan obviously understands that he's kind of coming into this match a little bit of the underdog. He's going to try to pull off a massive upset. We got Belal Muhammad, who has an impressive career, but there's a lot of people talking about how he's subsequently slowed down. He's fighting for his career, and so it's going to be really interesting to kind of see what happens out of that. So I'm seeing some real sleeper picks here, guys, on this card. So I'm excited to kind of cover it. And as you're aware, I'm Shiraz. I'm the host of Duality 7X, and yeah, I. I don't think I think you guys know me by now, but anyways, let's break down this card. Well, not the entire card, but just a few of the matches that I've kind of highlighted. But I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna say this every single time I do a UFC fight night or prediction video. Please do not skip the prelims, just because I may not be talking. I don't have a lot of time today. The fights are going to be starting pretty soon, and then there's a few things. There's a few phone calls that I got to make with some other YouTubers and people who are going to be watching the fight, kind of getting their predictions, and just kind of like almost like our pre-tailgate kind of events that I usually do during fight nights and stuff like that. But so because of limited time, I'm only going to talk about a few fights. But please do make sure you guys aren't missing anything. Watch it right from the start to finish. There's some really good prelims. Some really good fights on the prelims that you don't want to miss. So make sure you're just not focused on the main card. Okay. But that said. I'm looking at the Arman Tsarukyan versus Dan Hooker fight a little bit carefully. I've actually talked to a few other people about this, a few folks in the fight scene, and people who have an invested interest in terms of some other YouTubers and people who like to comment on this kind of stuff, or people on social media who are constantly posting about MMA and boxing and the world of combat sports. And there's some really interesting takes here. And from the consensus, this fight really comes down to one thing, right? Ultimately, everybody's asking, can Dan Hooker pull off the inevitable or pull off the big upset and stop Arman Tsarukyan's takedowns? Okay, so Arman Tsarukyan and Khamzat Chimaev are pretty good friends. They train together. Their camps know each other very, very well, and so I'm you know, he is known for his takedowns, and I'm not surprised. Training with Khamzat, and obviously that's you're going to be an expert and you're going to be a pro at that. But I personally don't think Dan is going to have enough to be able to stop his takedowns. I think Arman's at a different level when it comes to his takedowns. I mean, he's such an incredible, talented, gifted fighter. I don't think he gets the credit where credit is due. I think sometimes he gets buried under the conversations when you're talking about this division. Most people are talking about Ilya Topuria. They're talking about. I mean, Arman's name is brought up a lot too, but then he kind of gets overshadowed by the likes of Topuria, Paddy the Baddy, Paddy Pimblett, and others of course as well too, right? So I think this now that he's got the platform, he's fighting Dan Hooker. I think he's got the ability here, the opportunity to really show to the world what an unbelievable fighter he is, right? And how he can win in decisive fashion. And I truly think he can. Tsarukyan is honestly just the better fighter. He's a more dynamic grappler. He's, once he gets his grip on you, it's kind of like trying to shake off a backpack that's really strapped to you pretty tightly. It's really tough. And you know what? We could say the same thing, kind of like watching similar fights with Khamzat versus De Ridder. If you guys remember that, Khamzat was stuck to him like glue. It was really hard to shake him off. And it's like that nonstop pressure, right? Nonstop chain wrestling that really wears people out, and you see it, right? Like look at Islam Makhachev. He took out Jack Della Maddalena, and he took him down so many times. And when a lot of people don't realize this or realize the magnitude of how powerful wrestling actually is in the world of combat sports, in the world of MMA. It sucks the life out of you, right? It's kind of like the equivalent of, boxers, obviously, they have to fight standing up, right? And it's all about their striking capabilities. And one of the ways for a boxer to wear his opponent down is to keep hitting in his lower core, right? Like, jabs are great because they wear you down a lot, but the more you keep working the guy's core, his rib area, his abdomen area, and if you keep working that area, it really starts to suck the life out of your opponent to the point where they're just kind of like mush. They don't really have a lot much at the end. And so for grapplers, right, for MMA fighters who have the ability to stand up and strike, and then also have the ability to fight on the ground, this is where guys like Tsarukyan and Khamzat and all these other talented grapplers, this is where they do their business. They take you down and they wear you down. So like you could have a fighter who's like fully supercharged and energized, and then as soon as he hits the ground with one of these guys, and then after he comes out of it, like half his energy is gone, half his stamina is done. It's like depleted. There's like nothing left in the tank. These grapplers are like parasites. They suck the life out of you guys. And so this is what Arman's game plan is. And Dan Hooker also doesn't get a lot of credit. I talk about Arman not getting a lot of credit. Dan Hooker doesn't get a lot of credit either, right? I mean, this guy's super, super tough, right? I mean, I don't think he gets instantly finished here, but once Arman puts him on the mat, I really see him controlling like huge portions of this fight, and it's gonna look a lot like the Gamrot fight, right? I mean, where Arman just kept winning these small grappling exchanges, building momentum, sucking the life out of him to the point where he ultimately gets that victory. And so I'm not sure what all the strategy is for Arman, but definitely he's got to bring him to the mat. If he wants to finish this fight and finish it in the way he wants to finish fights, like the Arman Tsarukyan style of finishing fights, that kind of a format, he needs to get Dan on the mat quick in the early rounds and pummel him, while he's there in that kind of position so that he could get that decisive win. And so, the early rounds are going to be the key here. It's going to be really interesting. Dan obviously is going to do his best to showcase the striking abilities, and but Arman is a very, very good striker as well, too, guys. And look, Tsarukyan is a legit, like, he's got legit knockout power. He's not just a grappler. His striking capability, honestly, it's next level, right? And if he finds Hooker off balance, he could end it before the bell, before the final bell. He could even finish this like within the first couple rounds. So if everyone's thinking, and if you're betting and you're trying to do this on a parlay and you're thinking Arman's gonna take this, he's gonna wear him down, and then he's gonna tear him down, he's gonna bring him to the mat and try to do his business there so he could try to get the win that way, don't be surprised. Arman could finish him off while he's standing as well too. Okay, so my prediction is Arman Tsarukyan is going to dominate this either with a clear decision or a finish on the ground. But don't be surprised if he knocks a guy out while they're standing. So that's my prediction, guys. Arman Tsarukyan is, in my opinion, is going to win this fight. And the other fight I want to chat about is the co-main event: Belal Muhammad versus Ian Machado Garry. This one is going to be absolutely interesting. Garry is such a generational talent. Like, he's so good, right? He's got that hype. He's got that marketing behind him. He's got the fan base, guys. And, Bilal is a workhorse. He's old school. He knows how to grind away. He's a wrestler. He's a grappler. That nonstop pace. That's the kind of stuff that really breaks guys. And if you watch Bilal's fights, that's what he does. That's what he's good at. For me, I think ultimately the key is, can Belal close the distance, without getting clipped? The thing with Belal is he's very susceptible to just being an open target, and he cuts up really fast. So I wouldn't be surprised if he starts to bleed in the early round, like in round number 1. If he gets clocked by a couple of those shots from Machado, it could spell the beginning of the end for Belal. Okay, and this is a guy, guys. Like, look, he's a superb fighter, but he's kind of on the ropes right now when it comes to his career. It's kind of like stagnant. It's getting a little bit stale, and he knows he's got to do something super impressive to keep his career alive in the UFC. And so Garry doesn't really threaten much off his back. Okay, so like that's kind of more Bilal's kind of area of expertise, and so he's going to try to get Machado. He's going to try to get Garry down to the mat and try to wear him down that way. And if he does, then that's going to be brilliant for Belal and his game and his ultimate strategy of winning this fight. I think this is going to be a very grinding style kind of a fight, very, very typical of what we've seen in the past with other Belal Muhammad fights. You know what? You got to give credit where credit is due to the UFC executives, man. They really know how to match up fighters. If Belal was hoping to kind of get into a fight where it was going to be a little less grindy, well, no, poor guy. That's probably his destiny. This is what it is. Every fight of his is going to be like this, possibly, but this fight definitely is going to be one that it's probably not going to be finished with the knockout. It's could go over 3 rounds. Yeah. I see Bilal's pressure and determination kind of helping him kind of get the win here. I'm going to call it, guys. I'm going to say Belal Muhammad by decision. And if you're a betting fan, you're going to love those odds because I think he's like a 220. So you'll have to check You'll have to check Sport MGM, Bet MGM, sorry, and you're gonna have to try to look at where he's at. But I mean, I honestly think that Belal Muhammad is going to get the decision. He's such an incredibly talented fighter. He he had some like he's got knockout power. He's got knockout power, but he started like I've noticed his his fights kind of like I don't know if they've been fading or what, but I mean the level of talent just keeps getting. See, this is the thing, right? People will watch these fights and say, "Oh man, Bilal was such a great fighter back in the day, and now he's like kind of slowing down, and he doesn't have that same kind of spark or the same kind of his punches are not landing with the same kind of power that they used to." Look, sometimes people have to understand and realize that perhaps the fighting game is changing, right? And the level of talent continues to improve and gets better. So guys like Bilal and all these other fighters are not going to be fighting. I mean, usually how the UFC likes to do things, and I'm sure other organizations can attest to this, but they don't want to see a fighter go downwards. They want to keep upping the ante, right? Upping the bar, as so to speak. So if Bilal fights this guy at this level, the next fight for Bilal he should be fighting someone even better than his previous opponent. And that's the way it works, especially in organizations like the UFC. This is why you get the best of the best fights, okay? This is why they're extremely successful. So if you feel that Bilal's striking ability or grappling is not as what it used to be, that doesn't mean that he's any less like he's weaker than what he was before, or he's just starting to get really old. Look, father time is father time. All the fighters are going to get old. It is what it is. That's just life, okay? But you have to understand guys like Bilal, they are like I mean over time, yes, he's not going to be the same kind of fighter as he was in his prime. That we can establish. That's 100% guaranteed. But if you feel that his previous fights are like his current fights are not matching up with how he used to fight, there's a lot of factors into that, and you have to appreciate the fact that maybe the competition is just getting even more difficult for these fighters. And look, fighters adapt, they change. They're not constantly using the same kind of tools that they have available to them. They have to know how to use those tools in different ways, in different means. So they're constantly, every fight is different, right? A guy like Ian Machado Garry he's such an incredible talent. I'm pretty sure a guy like Belal Muhammad is not going to go in with the same strategy that he had going into his previous fight. He's going to obviously do things a little bit different, change up his routine a little bit so he can adapt to the fighting style of Ian Machado Garry, so he'll know how to be able to potentially win against a fighter like that. So, yeah, I'm super excited about this, guys. But yeah, I had to say that, guys, because I've been talking to a lot of people, and there's a lot of comments about Bilal starting to fade away, and he's not the same kind of fighter. Yeah, that happens to all fighters, but it's not because of the reasons that are the obvious that you think, oh, well, it's because he's just getting old and he's starting to suck. No, it's because things are changing. The level of competition continues to change. And yeah, eventually there will be a time where Bilal may not be able to compete at the same level he did like 10, 15 years ago. That's obvious. But if and when that happens, then Bilal can talk about either retiring or maybe moving on from the UFC, maybe trying something different. But don't count this guy out. He's an incredible talent himself, and I've got Belal Muhammad winning this fight. Okay. Next, we got Volkan Oezdemir versus Alonzo Menifield. This is one that I wanted to talk about as well, too, guys. For this one, I'm actually going to be going with the underdog. Okay, so look, if this fight can stay standing, then Menifield has heavier power. Okay, he's got unbelievable stamina. He's always got enough gas in the tank to be able to carry him through for like longer fights. So his fight cardio is definitely on par. And look, Oezdemir is the kind of guy that when we're talking about fading, he's been fading as of late in his fights, and I don't know what the reason is, because he's very gifted athlete. He's an incredible talent himself, but it's almost like he doesn't really have a strong game plan. Everybody has a game plan. But when he goes into a fight, I feel like sometimes he gets bothered if things don't really go his way, and then he starts to, I'm not saying get bored or, but it's almost like he just doesn't know what to do, and he just kind of rolls with it. Whatever he throws to the wall sticks, and whatever doesn't. And, he's kind of almost like he's thinking on the fly, and that's why kind of maybe he seems like he's fading a little bit, but we've seen it. We've seen it in his fights, and Menifield, honestly, he's been making some serious improvements as of late, especially in the later rounds. So if this goes past round one, if this goes past round one, I seriously think that the momentum could shift completely. I have a feeling that Alonso's going to he's going to pull off a huge upset, and he's also at plus 190, guys. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure for those of you who are on BetMGM, you guys are going to have a field day with this. But yeah, I think this is going to be great. I think Alonso Menifield is going to pull off an upset here. And then the other one I want to chat about, guys, is Beksat Almakhan versus Alexandre Topuria, part of the Topuria family. And Almakhan, look, he's the kind of guy who's going to be very dangerous early. I can see him come out and coming out of the gates really strong. He's also fighting Ilya's brother, so obviously he wants to. He knows he knows that he's got that expertise in his corner and stuff, and he doesn't want him to be able to tap into his strategy. So he's going to come out of the gate strong. Almakhan is, and he's going to try to be very, very dangerous, very early. And look, that. If you guys remember, he had that first round knockout, over Katana, and that honestly was not a joke. That was some serious skill and serious power. Topuria, though, he can beat you in many ways. All right. He just doesn't need to, he's got a lot of tools under his belt, and he's got that expertise. He's got that wisdom with his brother in his corner. In his boxing has, vastly improved. He's sharper. He's smoother. He's light on his feet, and his wrestling top notch. All right. So there's many ways that Topuria can take you out. Right. And he's the kind of guy that can weather an early storm. And that's what you want in your fighter. You want, some fighters come out super aggressive, and you got to make sure your guard is tight, and you're able to weather that. And I think Topuria can, and if he does, it becomes a fight. I feel that Topuria can close the distance, right, on Almakhan, but I expect him to start mixing in some takedowns, which I think will play in his favor, provided he does that. And if he does that, I think he can slowly take over and win this fight. I don't think it's going to be a round one win or anything like that. Nobody's getting knocked out in this, guys. But I think Topuria, I think he is the odds-on favorite to win this, and I think I'm kind of leaning a little bit more towards him. I think that's going to be a smart pick. I'm taking him. Topuria wins this, right? So anyways, guys, kind of going back to the main event, right? If Tsarukyan finishes Houker early, that honestly puts him right in the mix of title conversations. That's exactly what he wants. The lightweight division will be wide open. I mean, it's wide open right now, guys. And honestly, a statement win in a place like Qatar will honestly put him right at the front of the line. Okay, and then when you look at Belal versus Machado Garry, if Belal beats Garry, that completely scrambles the welterweight division like nobody's business. Gary's hype train will get derailed. Belal will jump right back into the top contender spot. But the criticism will continue to follow Belal. But if he can win and win in a decisive manner, then I think he puts a lot of that to bed for the time being. And for Menifield and Topuria, this is a big match for both of these young fighters. I'm looking at two potential new breakout names coming out of this card, and the rankings are going to be super messy. And it's a good problem for the UFC to have, because The level of talent only continues to increase, but I think Topuria is going to make a name for himself here. And look, I'm not gonna count out Beksat, because he's the kind of guy that can also finish strong. So you never know. You never know how this is going to turn out, right? But definitely, yeah. If Topuria wins, it's because he's going to use that MMA IQ, and he's going to pull off that victory that way. Menifield, I think, is going to shock people. Belal will pull off the underdog win and put his name back in the lights as a top contender. And Tsarukyan will dominate. So big card, big moments. The future of two divisions are at stake, guys. And it might shift all in one night. But that's my take. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Who do you think wins in Qatar? Drop your predictions in comments. I love reading all of them. And please smash a like and subscribe. Join us here on Duality 7X for more fight talk. And I will catch you guys a little bit later today with highlights of what went down.